Welcome back to another episode of Gridiron Jungle, man, where we got to laugh to keep ourselves from crying.
Man,
These are your two co-hosts, man, your favorite Bengals fans. My name's Kyron. I'm joined by my brother Phil, man. Who they to all those out there, man? I said it.
shout
I,
out to
I
y'all.
told Phil, yeah, shout out to all y'all, man. Thank you for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for continuing to support. We definitely appreciate you. That goes without saying. Can't do any of this without you. I do want to make everyone aware. I told Phil this before we started recording. I have nothing really to say this week after Thursday night's game. I told you my feelings a couple weeks ago and how I'm making peace with things, and it kind of is what it is. Before we get rolling, I do want to shout out to E Rich on YouTube. E Rich to you.
Shout
Who
out my
they all
boy
day
E
every.
Rich.
Yeah, man, straight up, man. Gave the muscle emoji. Who they all day every day. We feel you. I ain't never gonna change. Just who they all day every day. But man, this team has a way of ripping your heart out.
Man,
Has a way of ripping your heart out, man. So I told you I'm protecting my mental health. I don't know if people thought I was being funny, if I was just saying it just to say it. And I don't want to rip the team. I really don't want to be one of those people that gets on every week and rips the team and makes their calling card off of that, because I do love the Bengals. I love this franchise. And I love the players, man. I really do. We have a very talented team. We're just not a good team, like I said. But Thursday night football, prime time at Baltimore. I think it was a 6.5, maybe got down to 5.5, 6-point spread. Baltimore is favored. We go to M&T Bank Stadium for a thrilling Thursday night football game. End up losing to the Baltimore Ravens 35-34. They sweep the season series once again, similar to game one video game numbers. And there were 69 points scored in the entire game. Had a chance to win it, had a chance to tie it or go to overtime and win it, all three of the things, and did not accomplish any of them. Walked out with a loss. Joe and Jamar put on an incredible performance. I have to highlight this. Joe Burrow, 34, and for the record, I just want everybody to know, Phil and myself are in a Dynasty Football League and Dynasty Fantasy Football League, and I'm playing Phil this week, and Phil has Burrow and Chase. So on Thursday night alone, he had 104 points, ended with 170. And I had 105. Yeah. If those averages come down a little bit, maybe I have a chance. I don't know. His team is really good, though. He's 8-2 now, second place in the league. So shout out to your squad. But video game numbers, Joe Burrow, 34 for 56, 428 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0, I say once again, 0 interceptions. And of course, not to be outdone, we have Jamar Chase with 11 receptions, 264 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I read something today, Phil, that said we are having a year where Joe Burrow is legitimately putting up MVP numbers. Jamar Chase is legitimately putting up Offensive Player of the Year numbers, and Trey Hendrickson is legitimately putting up Defensive Player of the Year numbers. And here we are,
and we're 4
November 11th at 4-6. Phil, what were your overall thoughts on the game? Prime time. First of back-to-back primetime games for us. What were your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it was another thriller. It was another classic matchup that we came on the short end of. Blowing a 14-point lead is really frustrating, especially with
especially when you do it twice to the same team in one season.
Yeah, and especially with those performances that you just highlighted, not only was there a 14-point lead, you had those type of performances that, I won't say they'll become forgotten, but ultimately were for naught, and you hate to see that happen. Also, I just want to go ahead and say this: Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver ever play football. I don't care. That's where I'm at. He the best. He the GOAT. I don't care. He the best to ever play. He is ridiculous. Like literally, I mean, you kind of knew what they were gonna do, who they were gonna throw the ball to. It didn't matter if they cloud coverage. It just didn't matter. Like he was. I just got nothing to say. Jamar Chase, unbelievable. Salute to you. The Bengals messed up not paying you. The price, yesterday's price was not today's price. I don't even know what else to say. Insane.
The price is getting crazy. Like he
Insane.
solidified that highest paid receiver in the NFL. That's for sure.
Insane.
He definitely
Yeah.
solidified that this season. Best to ever play the sport of football. I'm not there yet. There is a guy.
Yep. Sorry,
few
Jerry.
guys.
I'm sorry, Randy. I'm sorry, Calvin. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to you all.
Listen.
Whoever else you want to name, Chris Carter. Whoever you thinking of, he's better than.
The fact that you said Chris Carter is crazy. But anyway, semantics.
Yeah, shout out
that's
to
your
Middletown,
Buckeye.
I guess.
Yeah, that's your Buckeye coming out. It's semantics. So I get what you're saying. You're not crazy because I understand what you're saying. However, obviously longevity, all these things play a factor. So I'm not. But as far as most talented, like if you were to say Jamar's the best player you ever seen played the position of wide receiver, that's a little bit more in line with what I can get with. The best to ever like do it career wise, obviously he hasn't. It's still way too early, but by the time it's all said and done, I can definitely see it. And I'll be honest with you, as good as Jamar is, as good as we've known he is, I didn't know he had another gear to get to. I didn't know he had another level to get to. Yeah, and he's gotten there. And for all the people that say he's not as good without T, he really is just he's a nightmare. Like he gives everybody fits. Like he's a bad boy.
And what can he do? There's no weakness in the game. You can hand the ball to him. He can run every single route. He can run through you. He can run away from you. He can make you miss. He's got incredible hands. I mean, like, yeah.
Well, I've always said,
dude is crazy.
Forget his receiver skills. I've always said he's just one of the best athletes that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Right? And the main reason I say that is because maybe – I don't know if it's last year, maybe the second year when I really noticed it, but him on the sidelines and getting pushed and certain like his balance is ridiculous. And that's when I really noticed. I'm like, hold on, like he can. It's one thing to be fast and strong and the whole nine, but balance is something that's grace. And there'd be so many times where I'm looking at it, I'm like, I would have fell over 10 out of 10, and Jamar doesn't. He's just very graceful, man. Nah, it's really. I know it's the small things. It's very nerdy and very particular, but if you ever pay attention to it, like it's a marvel to witness just how balanced he is, and I think he can play any sport and be good at it. But yeah, gotta sing the praises to that performance. I mean, to like you said, to have that and walk away without a win. That's just sad. That's just sad all the way around. I don't think we had any sacks in the game, anything like that. But let's just go ahead and get it. What were your overall? I don't even know if you already talked about it in your initial rant. What were your overall thoughts on the game?
Yeah, moving on from the Jamar Chase point, I just had to get that out as far as my overall takeaways. The offense, as great of a performance as Joe had, as great as a performance as Jamar has had, and I know I'm probably in the unpopular camp. I already, I got a little flack in the group chat, but this game being 7-7 at the half was really unfortunately and really unfortunate and really a missed opportunity. The defense, I think, forced 4 and outs and 5 punts in that first half, and we allowed it to be a 7-7 game. When the defense performs like that, you have to take advantage of that. Even if it's a 10-7 lead or a 14-7 lead going into the half, you definitely have to take advantage of the defense. Having that type of first half performance. Kind of piggybacking on that. On the flip side, the fourth quarter defensive struggles continue to be a problem. The Bengals have allowed 13 points in the fourth quarter in 3 straight games. They're allowing 9.8 points per game in the fourth quarter, which is the 5th most in the last 5 seasons. That's pretty ugly. The Ravens are actually second at 10.6. So, that kind of plays into my frustrations into my last takeaway, which was that 2-point attempt to end the game, you know, I saw a lot of people agreeing with that decision to go for it there. In my opinion, if the clock is expiring, if there's a handful of seconds left, sure, why not? You're on the road, go for the win, season on the line, sure. In that situation, I think it was 38 seconds left. Even if you do go up one, all you have to do is really make 1 to 2 plays to get in Justin Tucker field goal range. And what does going for the 2 do? You know, in my opinion, I think you go for the tie, you give yourself the chance in overtime. You know, you're not guaranteed to lose the toss. So to think that you have to stop Lamar was a bit frustrating because they weren't stopping Joe and Jamar either. So that was those were my overall takeaways. I don't know if there was
Yeah.
anything you had.
No, I don't have anything to say about the scene. That's the interesting thing because I wrestle with this back and forth, right? I understand because part of it I have to grow up a little bit. Part of it is like I just have a natural urge to dislike anything Zach decides on. However, I do get it. I understand the idea and the premise of going for 2 on the road with the team you just lost to in overtime a few weeks prior. I get that. I understand it completely. The way your offense was cooking, check that. The way Joe and Jamar were cooking, it makes complete sense for you to want to ride that and go there. The issues come in 2 forms. One, you already mentioned. If you think of this strategically, and you know you need this game, and you know to that point that Joe and Jamar are cooking, and you said it perfectly, Phil. There's 38 seconds left in the game. That's the exact number there. 38 seconds left. Yes, the defense doesn't look the best, but I'll be honest, as professionals, if you can't hold them 38 seconds to keep them out of field goal range, I don't know what else to tell you. But you don't deserve to win the game at that point. Like, you just don't. So that's cool. I can live with
Simple as that. Simple as that.
I can live with that. If you can't keep them out of field goal range with, and let's say it's a touchback, yeah, and it stays at 38 seconds. If you can't keep them out of field goal range, and I know we're talking about Mr. Jackson, as Mike Tomlin said, you just don't deserve to win. Or the other team is just better than you, and you take that on the chin and you keep it moving. You, like I said, the perfect point that you made was there's no guarantee that you don't get the ball at the beginning of overtime. I'm going to say it for the third time. The way that Joe and Jamar were cooking, I'm banking on getting that toss, and I'm banking on winning. All you're doing is extending the game. If you lose, all right, but you're giving yourself a shot. Putting your hat in the ring. It's almost like playing the lottery, right? Yeah, the lottery's stupid. I don't play the lottery, right? But if it gets to 800 million, why not? What am I losing?
Yeah.
Right?
And if you don't play, you can't have any expectation to win.
Exactly. So no expectation to win. So that's the part that really was frustrating. Record-breaking night. And going to my main point, if you are going to go for 2, you drop your best play for number 1, or you drop your best decoy play, knowing that 1 is going to be double teamed, and I have an easy pitch and catch to whatever that second option is, because I know that's called coaching. That's called game plan.
Yeah.
That's called putting yourself in that situation throughout the entire week. All right. So when you're in practice, you run through situational, you go through 2-minute drill, you go through the end of game drills, you look and you say, all right, what are our best 3 or 4 plays? Let's trim them down and let's make sure we have them ready. You got to practice stuff like that. And listen, I've never been at a Bengals practice.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Outside of camp. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I'm not speaking for anything, but I just get the feeling that this team does not practice situations like that.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between your Harbaughs and your Tomlins and your Belichicks and everybody else, and your Zach Taylors, who has a well below 500 record. Like I said, dumping on Zach Taylor is whatever, but it just doesn't make any logical sense. And I've never coached an NFL down in my life.
Yeah. And you bringing that up just kind of just sparked something that I feel like I have to speak on, and I apologize. I'm not gonna be structured in how I talk about this game because it was really frustrating for me. I don't even know if we'll be able to talk through the game. I don't know. We'll probably just be free flowing, I would assume. But We talk about Zach Taylor in that play call, not drawing up the play to your best player. I have to also, as much as I love Joe and as amazing as he has been, and he's having an MVP season, as you stated, they called a timeout before they ran that last play. The Ravens came out in the exact same look. You got the two tight ends out there. You're running the 12 personnel. You've got Hudson and Gesicki both, running their routes. Both of them were doubled. Jamar Chase was one-on-one with, I think, Stevens, who had been torching the entire game. Tony Pike broke this play down as best as I've seen anyone break this play down. Joe Burrow has to recognize that both of his tight ends are being doubled, and Jamar has one-on-one with inside leverage.
Which is crazy by Baltimore anyway.
The fact that Joe never even looked his way is crazy. Now, I know there was the illegal hands to the face. I know there was a hold on both tight ends. I know all of that happened, but he never even looked Jamar's way.
Do you think he outsmarted himself? Do you think he sitting there like I am, or sitting there like most Bengals fans and looking at the numbers Jamar puts up and just said there's no way they're leaving him one-on-one? I know that's not it doesn't excuse you. You're supposed to know that. You're supposed to look. I get it. Even if he is double teamed, I'm still saying
I'm dying on that hill. That's a hill I'm dying on. I'm dying. I'm living and dying with Uno.
That's the first time in 10 weeks I almost let one fly. I almost let an expletive fly. But yeah, I don't care who's over there. The game you're having, bro, you're gonna make a crazy play. I'm just giving you that shot.
Period.
It's crazy. It's nuts. It's insane. It's I don't know. I don't know if there's enough adjectives to describe what that feeling was like, and just that. Of course, you go for two. Of course, you run that play. I don't even know if Tanner was over the goal line.
Yeah,
I don't even know. Like I said, calls aside, I get it. However, you're up in that game. You got to seal the deal. There's a lot of talk about team. This is the time of years where if you're, if you're into wagering or anything like that, they talk about these are must-win games for some teams. I expect this team to cover because they're fighting for their season and yada yada yada. And I'll tell you what. As a matter of fact, let me cut that thought off because I'm telling you right now, it was really pissing me off. Not pissing me off, but I'm laughing to myself because I see people falling for the okie doke already. I see it. I said, listen, y'all heard me a couple weeks ago. Now we got to talk. Well, the Bengals only one game out of the wild card. I'm like, hey, don't do this to yourselves, man. I'm telling you. I'm not saying we can't make the playoffs. I'm not saying that at all. Like I've said it before, we have a top 5 talented, at least offense. Facts. Like that's not debatable, right? I'm not saying they can't make the playoffs. And once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen. However, I'm letting you know right now, this team is just not disciplined and good enough right now to win anything significant.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if we get in the playoffs or not. It don't matter. Now, could they shock me? Absolutely. But I don't want people to get that hopes up for that. Oh, we need, one game behind. We can just sneak in.
Yeah.
Like, all right, man.
I think the biggest thing, given the 8 ball that we've put ourselves behind, is we're gonna have, even if we do make the playoffs, we're gonna have to play on the road each and every week. And there's 2 things that travel, and that's the run game and that's defense, and we don't have either. So I hate to say that I'm in agreement with you in how you feel about us and our maybe potential playoff endeavors, but I'm right there with you.
And listen, and that pain, like y'all have to understand, that pains me to say. I would have never said this last year. I would have never said this 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I've seen enough to know, like, you don't lose games like this. And even the first Ravens games or the Patriots game, you don't lose those on accident. Like, and there are certain teams led by certain coaches that would never lose those games.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's just where I get that from. It pains me. I'm not trying to be a downer. Like I said, that's why I try to keep my takes light. But that's just what it is. And I just thought it was funny that, all right, there go the hook again. Trying to hook people back in. And I see people, man, y'all can call me crazy, but I believe this team, listen, at any time, can they turn on the switch? Absolutely. But it starts with the leadership. It starts with Zach. And if I'm following Zach, then I'm in bad shape. Yeah. I'm sure he's a great person, great individual. No disrespect, but he's not.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a leader of men in that sense. I mean, I just don't.
Mm-mm.
He's not a good head football coach, and that's just kind of what it is.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens with that. We talked about the offense. I listen. Phil, I'm not trying to be like this. I really don't have. There's nothing that you say after a game like that. Like there's really nothing.
Yeah.
It seems kind of silly to talk about. Let's talk about the defensive side of the ball, and especially,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to cut things short, or I think this is a perfect game as fans just to flush it
Yeah.
and really see what we can do in at SoFi next week against
Mm-hmm.
another coach that's better than Zach Taylor. Once again, trying to be as positive as possible, but that's just what it is. I would rather have
Yeah.
Harbaugh than I would Zach Taylor. And
Yeah.
he's going to look at all of our deficiencies, everything we're bad at, and he's going to make a game plan
Mm-hmm.
around that. He's not going to stick to, hey, this is who we are. We're going to do it no matter what. No, he's going to try to win that game that week because
Yep.
that has playoff implications for them as well.
Yep.
So, can we go
And,
into LA and can we beat them by 14? Absolutely, we can. Will
mm-hmm.
we? We'll have to see that on the field. I hope we can.
Right.
I really hope
Right.
we can.
Right. And I mean, we are talking about a team that, like you said, is well coached. We're talking about a Chargers defense that hasn't allowed a opponent to score 20 points in a game this season. And the Bengals have scored 21 or more in 7 of our 10 games. So this will be the biggest test, I think, for both teams, respectively. The Bengals going against this defense and this defense going against the Bengals offense. So the Bengals also, I'm sorry, the Chargers rank number 1 in points allowed per game. They're only allowing 13 points per game. So I think it is going to be a true testament to how good this offense really is and see if they show up against a formidable defense like this. So I'm looking forward to it. You know, we talk about the spreads and the gambling side of things. The Chargers are a 2.5 point favorite at home, which essentially makes that game a pick 'em, which leads you to believe this is going to be another tight game. Just finished playing one Harbaugh brother. Now we're playing against the other. I'm sure they're going to share a lot of information amongst each other as well. So it's going to be interesting to see. Zach has continued to struggle in these close one possession games. So
Here's
I think the season is really truly on the line here. So it's kind
here,
of
here-
kind
here's
of
what
do or
I'll
die.
here's what I'll say about this game that's coming up on Sunday. And we can talk about. Well, you want to talk about Howard first?
Sure, we can.
Yeah, we can talk about Xavier Howard first, and I'll have my. I don't know if you have anything else to say. I'll just give my final thoughts at the end of it. But Xavier Howard came in free agent visit.
Hmm.
Apparently, the workout went very well. Obviously, he plays cornerback, most known for
Hmm.
being a cornerback for the Miami Dolphins.
Hmm.
The workout went very well. However, we could not come to terms with a deal. Usually, it is a law in most professional sports, especially football. Like once they're in the building, you don't let them leave the building without signing that contract. That's usually once they leave, especially when you hear about free agent talk during the summer and people make their first visit. Usually, they sign with that team. It's always been the work behind the scenes. Once they leave that building, it's usually slim to none chance. Um, did you hear any news about what the hangup was with the deal or anything of that nature? And how do you
I
feel
didn't.
about possibly signing him anyway?
I liked it. I really wanted to sign him this offseason until he had that legal situation that he had come about. I didn't. I thought the Bengals would be off of him in that situation, but he played for Lou in Miami or no in New York. Wait, where did they play together? I can't remember. But Lou coached Xavier Howard previously. I forget what stop at, but they've got history. He knows Lou's system. He knows what Lou's expectations are. From what I understand, as you stated, he was in the building. He did have a good workout. He was made an offer and he declined and said he would wait for his next opportunity. I'm sure the Bengals made a low ball offer, as the Bengals tend to do. And I believe a similar situation occurred with Leonard Fournette, who was in on a visit, which is why the Bengals ultimately ended up signing Gary Brightwell to the practice squad, former Giants running back. So, yeah, the Bengals just traded away a the seventh round pick that they acquired in the Joe Mixon deal for Khalil Herbert, who had one carry and a fumble. So essentially, the Bengals traded Mixon for Khalil Herbert. Mixon, who was just named a mid-season team captain, which I've never in my life seen happen before. Continues the ball and almost carried that team to another victory. And we're still trying to figure out our run game. So, yeah.
Correct. Yeah, and that's the sad part about it. It wouldn't matter if Mixon was here because we just don't know how to run the football. Our coaches don't put us in a position to really do well in that area. That's why Mixon left, and he's looking like top 3 running back in the NFL. So once again, scheme, strategy, whatever the case is. Listen, I want to leave it and close it out with this. I know this is a random kind of just talk around episode, but it's frustrating. We get it. I get it. You hear me and you heard my thoughts about the team. Hopefully, I've tried to explain this many times. Hopefully, everybody understands it's not a giving up on the Bengals. That'll never happen. But it is frustrating, and I still have faith in this team that, yeah, they can turn it around. It's possible. They are talented enough. I'll never say that they aren't. We got to flush this game, which is part of the reason why this is just a short episode. We just got to flush it. Acknowledge what we need to acknowledge and keep moving. Try to find a way to get to 5 and 6. I think the guys in the locker room are professionals, and I really think they care about this, and I think they know they're underachieving. Here's what I'll say. This game on Sunday, Phil, it's going to say it's going to tell us everything we need to know about the state of that locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the one thing I will say that I think works in our advantage, right? It's very sneaky, and it might sound silly, but I'm telling y'all. The one thing that we have on our advantage and why this team, other than them being professionals and caring about what they do, their crafts, the hard knock cameras are in the building.
Yes, they are.
You reported that a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you said it on air. I know you told me.
I don't think I did, yeah.
Okay, but I want to make sure Phil gets his credit because Phil told me that the hard knock buildings were there. Or hard knock cameras were there.
Mm-hmm.
You can't give up on camera. You can't.
Nah.
You just can't. It's a terrible look for everybody involved. It just really is. You can't give up on camera. If anybody watched Receiver last year, the Devontae Adams and him, I'm not gonna say that man gave up, but you can tell he did not want to be in Oakland or Vegas, wherever he was.
Sure.
He did not want to be in Vegas. And it's just not good to watch. Justified or not. I'm not saying he wasn't justified. It's just not a bad look no matter how you try to spin it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think knowing that you have that going on, you can't pack it up. You can't start thinking about vacation plans. You have to keep fighting. Because a lot of teams this talented, when they go down like this, they just let it go all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
Let the whole ship sink. And I don't think this team is there. But if it is a bad showing, if it is a bad performance, trust me, Bengals fans, that is telling you everything you need to know. That means the locker room's lost. That means there is no faith in what the direction is of this team. And I would expect to see changes. I know that's not – a lot of people come up to me and say, well, we held on to Marvin. Marvin never had a roster like this.
Never.
Super Bowl windows are small. We're almost we got Joe, but our first Super Bowl window is over. It's done.
Mm-hmm.
This was the final year of it.
Mm-hmm.
And now we got to start the second run of the Joe Burrow era when it comes to these contracts and how the team is built and start a whole new Super Bowl era.
Yep.
But that first run, this is it. This is the finale.
Yep.
Even if you tag T and bring him back next year and pay the 20%, it doesn't matter. That run was over. This is the team that we have moving forward. We need to adjust accordingly. But I'm very, very curious, and I hope we come out. I hope it's 31-14. You know what I mean? I hope it's 31-17. I really hope the fellas come out and ball. But if we don't, and if it's the other way, where we're on the losing end of that, it's going to be very interesting last few weeks of the season, that's for sure.
I'll be honest. I would be happy just to see this team go on the road and win a primetime game against a good team. You know, we haven't beat a good team all year. So if we can go and beat a 6-3 Chargers team that's only allowing 13 points a game at home in prime time, I'll feel really good. I don't care if it's a 20-17 game. I really don't. If we can come out of here with a win heading into the bye, I'll feel good. I won't say I'll feel good, but I'll feel encouraged. I'll feel encouraged.
I'm only laughing, and we'll get up out of here. But I'm only laughing when you said we haven't beat a good team because you sent a text this week saying we're actually 3-6. That Giants
We're
really doesn't
actually
count.
3-6.
The Giants.
It does not count.
We were watching. We were texting watching the Giants Panthers game Sunday morning, and it was just. Yeah, the Giants aren't good, but you know what?
No, like Germany deserves better. Like I never been to Germany. I don't know how they treat people or in current times, but they that was a bad football game.
I'm not gonna. There's a lot of things I can say right now that I'm not gonna say. But all right, everyone out there, man, we appreciate y'all. This short episode. Hopefully you are going through the most. Listen, this is therapy for us. This is just therapy. We got to get this stuff out. I don't want to be the guy that comes on here and just bashes the Bengals every week. I don't, man. As funny as it is sometimes, if anybody's familiar with the I'm live guy in New Orleans and all that stuff, man, as entertaining as it can be, that's not who I am, man. I love the Bengals. I love this franchise, and I just want to see them do well. I know Phil wants the same, so I'm gonna try to keep it optimistic, tempered, and we will be back next week. Hopefully, like I said, we'll know exactly what kind of team we have and how the second half of the season is going to go. Because that's after that game, we go into the bye week, and it'll be nice to go into the bye week with a win. But if you go into the bye week with a loss and a nasty loss at that, I don't know, man. Steelers coming up here soon.
Yeah, that's who's after the bye, December 1st at Paycor.
Mm-hmm. Get the Steelers twice in 18 days. Yikes. If I'm not mistaken. I can't remember what day the other one came. Twice in 24 days or something. I don't know. Either way.
Time to see if we can hit Russ with the 1-2 step, man.
No doubt. Phil, anything else?
Orlando Brown Jr., T. Higgins trending in the right direction. Both are questionable for Sunday night's game. I honestly don't expect either to play, but would love to have both. Really would love to have Orlando Brown Jr. because, Joe Burrow was feeling the pressure this week with Cody Ford over there on the left side. So whatever percent Orlando Brown Jr. is, would love to have him back. I would imagine going into the bye, they're probably going to hold both T and Orlando out, but I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. That's going to be the phrase. That's going to motto for the rest of the year. We'll see. All right, y'all. We appreciate you for tuning in. Let's get this win against the Chargers. If not, come mourn with us next week. But I have optimism, man. We're going to speak it into existence.
It'll be full-blown depression. Yeah, it'll be full.
We fought 4-7. It'd be all bad, but let's not plan for that. All right, y'all. Until next time, we got to leave you with the hearty hoo day.
Hoo day.